Do you love the great outdoors, but you also want to use points and miles to book your next vacation? Hi, everybody. Dugras here with Dugras Reports. If I've described you, then I think that using Wyndham points to pay for a Vacasa vacation rental might be the right choice for you. That's what I did with my boys recently, and I'll share some details about that trip on today's video. Do you like fishing? I like fishing. Do you like hiking? I like hiking. Now, in fairness, I like the kind of hiking where you drive up to a parking lot and the hiking path is well marked and just right there on mostly flat terrain. Do you like exploring nature? I do. Do I like sleeping in a tent? No. No, sir, I don't like it. I don't like sleeping in a tent at all. For me, I want to stay in a place with climate control, electricity, and a bed that I can sleep in. So in October of last year, 2023, I went with my two teenage boys to central Wisconsin. This was Buckhorn State Park, which is just south of the middle of Wisconsin. And this is a fairly rural area. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not in the middle of nowhere, but the nearest hotel is about 15 miles away, for example. So we stayed right at the state park, and we stayed in a Vacasa cabin rental. I'll show some pictures here along with the video as we go. I'm going to break down all of my expenses for that trip, and then I'll also particularly focus on how we booked the Vacasa. Before we dive in, though, on this particular YouTube channel, I talk about finding epic value, including, but not limited to, credit card rewards for the average American. Does that sound interesting to you? If it does, please subscribe to this channel and please click the thumbs up button. Let's dive in. Wyndham is a chain of hotels mostly known for their lower end consumer hotels like Super 8, Days Inn, Ramada, La Quinta. They do have some higher end hotels like full service resorts as well. You might be thinking to yourself, Doug, I don't want to stay at any of those hotels. Okay, that's no problem. That's not where we're going with this, but just bear with me for a few moments. Because they have a hotel chain, Wyndham Rewards, their proprietary rewards program, also has 3 different credit cards. On the personal side, they have a no annual fee earner card. They also have the Earner Plus card, which does have a $75 annual fee. And they have one business card. This is the one that I have. It's the Wyndham Earner Business Card, and it has a $95 annual fee. The purpose of this video isn't to go into detail on how you earn those Wyndham points, but I thought it was worth mentioning because I have racked up a fairly decent collection of Wyndham points using my Earner Business Card. Now, I'd mentioned those hotel chains, but if you go to the website of the Wyndham Rewards program, which I'm logged into right now, and you scroll down about halfway, you'll notice that in addition to Wyndham Hotels and Resorts and Vacation Clubs and Caesars, it will also mention here that they have Vacasa, which is thousands of vacation rentals across North America. If you click the Learn More button, it just tells you to call them, which is totally fine. But I've already pulled up their website. What you'll do is you will use the Vacasa website to find the vacation rental that you want, and then you'll give Wyndham a call to book it. There are a few details on what qualifies and what doesn't, but generally speaking, you should be looking for properties that cost less than $350 per bedroom per night, all in taxes and fees, everything. So on the site, I have searched for and found the log cabin that we stayed in back in October. It's called The Logs, and it's in the town, or the nearest town is Necedah, Wisconsin. And you'll see here it averages $230 per night. Now, that's just the average, and that does not include taxes and fees. I'll put a graphic here on the screen that says what the amount we would have paid was and how that translates in terms of cents per point. It was a pretty good deal, but it wasn't an over-the-top deal. It was a beautiful home, and one of the tricks or sweet spots that you can work out with Vacasa is to find large homes that only have one bedroom. This particular cabin, although it was very large and it had a loft with several beds, did not count the loft as a bedroom. So it was listed as a one bedroom home, there only being one bedroom with a closing door. Now, it would normally cost 15,000 Wyndham points per night to book this property. Because it's one bedroom, it's 15,000 points per bedroom per night. But if you have any of the 3 Wyndham cards, you get a 10% discount. There's the one bedroom. So functionally, it becomes 13,500 per night. And in our case, it was a 4-day weekend. We spent 3 out of the 4 nights in the Vacasa rental. And by doing so, we paid a total of 40,500 Wyndham points. Now on to the nitty gritty of how we paid for this trip down to the very dollar. Anytime I take a trip, either by myself or with any of my family, I always do an accounting of exactly how it was paid for so I can keep tabs on those things. I have a personal rule that I always pay for my travel from points, miles, and cash back. I don't dip into my family budget to pay for it. So again, this was a 4-day weekend with my 2 teenage boys. My wife wasn't available to go at that time. And we had, some places that we ate. So the food expense came out to $241.07 for that 4-day weekend. One interesting story is you'll notice I list Quick Trip, which is a gas station, as one of the places we ate. Like I said, it was a pretty remote area. And one day we were driving around trying to find a place to eat kind of out in the countryside. And the first 3 places we tried were all closed. And we ran across a gas station. We kind of looked at each other and said, let's just eat here. We don't always have to be fancy. We can have gas station food for lunch. Of course, you got to have snacks anytime that you go on a trip, especially with teenage boys. That was $21.20. It was a little more on the expensive side in terms of gas. I didn't get a rental car, just took the personal vehicle, $121.61 because it was remote. Any place we went, we either had to drive or walk. There was no public transit or transportation of any kind involved. There was no actual lodging expense because the Vacasa was free. If we look over here briefly, I mentioned that we stayed in the Vacasa 3 out of the 4 nights. The very first night we stayed at an Airbnb in the town of Decorah, Iowa. Decorah is way up in the corner of the state, the northeast corner of the state, and no motels that really interested me. Back in 2021, I had bought $1,000 worth of Airbnb gift cards and haven't used very many of them yet. So did knock $164 off that. Just got a 1-bedroom apartment, just a place to lay our head for the night. I was going to visit a relative the next morning, and it was fairly close to her house, so it worked out as a decent place to stay. But that was a non-cash expense because I had already bought the gift card using my Chase points. This was back when Chase let you pay yourself back for Airbnb expenses. That deal has long since expired. Because we stayed in a cabin, we did have to buy groceries like cereal, frozen pizza, stuff like that to eat. And other miscellaneous expenses include a parking pass for state parks. That is something they require in Wisconsin. Had to get a fishing permit. I wanted to put that on my Aeroplan card issued by Chase, hoping it would code as travel and I could pay myself back. It did not code as travel. Some bait. We did go bowling a couple sessions, and that brings the miscellaneous total to $177 and change. There was no public transit, no buses, subways, taxis, or anything like that. So that totaled up to $560.61. Often on trips, I like to use pay yourself back either with my Altitude Reserve or with the Chase Aeroplan card, but there was just no opportunity to do that. The subtotal was therefore $560.61, and I'm going to have to just take that out of my travel savings account. So I do want to bring the final total down to 0, which will be done. I've got a transaction scheduled for 2 days from now that will move money from my travel savings account to my personal budget. When I say travel savings account. So I do have some cash back credit cards, such as the American Express Blue Cash Every Day, the US Bank Cash Plus. Sometimes I'll sign up for bank account bonuses or big spend deals, those kind of things to get cash back. And when I get cash back, it goes in a separate savings account with Charles Schwab. And when I have expenses, I just do an accounting like this and then move that money out, which saddens me a little bit because my travel savings account was right around $1,500. This will take it just under $1,000, but well worth it. I would say $560 all in, including lodging, gas, snacks, meals, everything for a 4-day weekend is not too bad at all. So, bottom line, not every vacation has to be a giant aspirational vacation where you fly international over the ocean in first class. Sometimes it's okay to take a down-to-earth vacation, and it was very relaxing, and my boys and I had a lot of fun. If you have any questions, put them down below and let me know what your thoughts are. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and may your spending be frugal and your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching.